These are bullies.
The fact that I'm 3 inches taller than you, is that the reason you're a little intimidated?
These are high school bullies.
She has an opinion about my music, but what's this? You're making fun of me online, you hypocritical fake bitch.
Gabbie Hanna, a YouTuber with over 5 million subscribers who grew in popularity very rapidly during the days of Vine, has been receiving a lot of backlash lately for, well, her own backlash. While displaying it's hard for her to handle criticism, she seems to think all forms of criticism are hate. She claims that many people online are bullying her. Meanwhile, she makes several videos and tweets bullying others. Sometimes she'll even be filming these videos when her eyes should be more focused on the road ahead. Literally, she puts herself and others at risk for filming these videos while driving.
I'm drama seeking, right? I started drama. I just want attention! Ah! I do want attention. Please. Please!
Most recently, she has been displaying many forms of hypocrisy, and we're gonna talk about it today. But before I get into any of that, yes, I am currently beanie-less. It doesn't look like it, but my hair is really damp right now, and the past few times I put a hat on damp hair, whether it be a beanie or a baseball hat or anything, it all kind of goes downhill after that, and I would like to try and avoid that today. So, again, no beanie, sorry. Anyway, the next thing I want to let you know is I apologize in advance if I come off extremely annoyed in this video. That's really because I am. Today we are going to be discussing Gabbie Hanna, and I'm sure many of you know what's going on at this point, but I have a lot to say about it. I have made a video about her in the past, which I have since removed because at the time I was really fired up, and then looking back on it I thought, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. So I had the plan to remake that video, but that went on the back burner and I have since forgotten about it, and it is lost to space and time. But today we are going to be discussing some unrelated things from that video, mostly focusing on the fact that she has been extremely agonizing to see online recently with her inability to take any criticism whatsoever. Her blatant hypocrisy where she cries that she is being bullied by people online. Meanwhile, she is targeting certain YouTubers and influencers, having her audience attack them to the point where they have to remove their social media, and also just her blatant view of criticism in general where she thinks that any form of it whatsoever is hate, when that is not the case and is totally irrational to think of.
But first we have to take a minute and appreciate our Chessie Chester, who is here to say hello. Hello. You wanna come up here? Come here. No? Okay.
Now to get started here, we must cue the I originally wasn't going to make this video, but it's true. You see, I really felt wrong for making this video at first because I was genuinely concerned about Gabbie's mental well-being. From the posts she's made on TikTok, to Twitter, to even Instagram Live.
I'm drama seeking, right? I started drama. I just want attention! Ah!
It's like to seem complicated, but we're not complicated. I could explain it pretty easily. Have you ever been to a birthday party with children and one of the children won't stop screaming cause he's just a little attention attractor, but when he grows up to be a comic or actor, he'll be rewarded for never maturing, for never understanding or learning that every day can't be about him. There's other people, you selfish asshole. I must be psychotic, I must be demented to think that I'm worthy of all this attention, of all of this money you worked really hard for. I slept in late while you worked at the drugstore. My drug's attention. I am an addict, but I get paid to indulge in my habit. It's all an illusion. I'm wearing makeup.
It wasn't until I saw a video by a YouTuber called It's Keisha that really made me change my mind and become less worried and more frustrated, as she pointed out that Gabbie had posted something on her Patreon where she admitted that she was just trolling in a lot of her TikTok and Instagram videos. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that even if she wasn't trolling in these videos and live streams, she still did a lot of really terrible things to certain people. And even if she's going through something mentally right now, that doesn't give her the excuse to treat other people badly. There is a lot of hypocrisy embedded in what Gabbie says and does online. You see, the very frustrating thing that comes with Gabbie Hanna is the fact that she has done plenty of things that are worth being criticized for. She has done a lot of things that have upset many, many people, but Gabbie believes that the world is out to get her and that every single person who criticizes her is being hateful or trying to attack her, which is an absolutely ridiculous assumption to make and is completely untrue. Now, yes, of course, there are going to be some people who are just going to be blatantly rude and hateful and mean to people and then mask it with the, oh, well, I was just giving you constructive criticism as sort of a blanket to continue saying these mean things to others, but you can usually tell the difference of somebody like that and somebody who just wants to see you do better as a human being and is upset with something you've done or made. Here's the thing. A lot of people genuinely do just want to see Gabbie do better and be better, and she can't continue to believe that every single person is out to get her. It's a very, very, very dark mentality to crawl down. And if she truly believes that the entire world or the entire internet is out to get her, she should take a break from being online. And I genuinely mean that. For her mental health, she should. It's your actions that are causing a lot of these reactions.
These are bullies.
The fact that I'm 3 inches taller than you, is that the reason you're a little intimidated?
These are high school bullies.
She has an opinion about my music, but what's this? You're making fun of me online, you hypocritical fake bitch.
Now, the biggest example I have for you right now is the thing that Gabbie is most infuriated by online right now, that being the fact that a lot of people aren't really fans of her poetry book that she recently made. Now, Gabbie is particularly targeting one person named Rachel Oates, who reviewed the book on her YouTube account and talked about her poetry in several different videos. Now, personally, I think that maybe she could have just done 1 or maybe 2 videos max talking about the book and talking about why she's disappointed in the poetry. I think that would have been a little bit more digestible for everybody. However, that doesn't completely obliterate any opinions she had about it. That doesn't dismiss any thoughts she had on the book, especially when it's coming to art. Stuff like art and writing and music is subjective. One person can absolutely love it and another person could absolutely despise it, and both people would be well within their rights to talk about that. She made multiple videos talking about why she didn't like Gabbie Hanna's poetry or her poetry book, and months and months and months later, Gabbie finally decides to lash out at Rachel Oates and send her entire fan base online to attack her, to the point where Rachel had to deactivate her Twitter account. This is the length that Gabbie is willing to go to silence people speaking about her, which is extremely frustrating because Gabbie herself is the one saying that she's being attacked and people are being gaslighting and narcissistic and abusive, when these are the types of things she's saying about Rachel.
And for them to be tweeting right now, I'm playing the victim, I am the victim.
Gabbie then made a tweet implying that everybody who was criticizing her book were just taking the worst poems out of her book to make it look like her entire poetry book was just as bad. But there's 2 things wrong with this. The first is that by just making this tweet, you were subtly acknowledging the fact that you know that some of the poems in your book are bad. There's even one poem in the book where she admits that some of them are just filler. You are subtly admitting to yourself that yes, some of these poems are bad. Therefore, it doesn't really matter if somebody is picking out the same poem over and over again and talking about how bad it is, because you still wrote it and you still put it in a book. That I just don't understand. Like, if you knew that it was bad, why would you put it in the book to begin with? I digress. The second thing is even more infuriating. She follows up by sharing several different screenshots from her book of different poems that most people weren't talking about. Poems that people might have overlooked or not paid attention to. She uses these poems from what I assume is to imply, look at this genius work that I have created that everybody with the anti-Gabbie narrative purposefully left out.
I still can't believe I wrote a funny, engaging, thematic poetry book about sexual assault, morality, childhood abuse, mental illness, and ideation as my first release, and all people cared to share was link in bio and family relatives.
When in reality, the poems that she posted to prove that her work is genius and amazing and great are just as bad, at least in my opinion. Some of the poems she shared were forgettable at best, but a lot of them were really not great either. Could you, sir, if you don't mind, diffuse in my chest. If it's not too much trouble, could you be so kind as to solve this wiry mess? I know what the diminishing number means. I'm running out of seconds, it seems. I'm about to be blown to smithereens, and the ticking is making me anxious. So please, sir, if you can spare the time, diffuse the in my chest. There isn't a cause that you could explain, but I'll claw my way in like a cat in the rain. I don't pretend to make much sense, but I'll twist up your nerves like a barbed wire fence. If you find yourself without a qualm, I'll send chills up your spine with my icy palm. Although your whole to-do list is ticked, I'll set fire to your cheeks like a match to a wick. No matter the time or the month or the season, I'll ruin your day without rhyme or reason. I don't know. I don't think they're that good. The fact that she is using these as her examples of her like best work in the book to prove a point is embarrassing. I do like some of her music. I think some of her songs are great, and the performance she gives in her music videos are awesome. She does a fantastic job. Sometimes people are good at writing music and not so great at writing poetry. Sometimes people are great at creating things through one method and not so much through another, and that's perfectly fine. And even if your work is something that you cherish, that's totally fine too. You could totally cherish your own poetry and say, hey, you know, even if other people don't like it, I'm really proud of this and I love this. It's totally valid for you to create something that you put your whole heart and soul into, and for somebody to say, that's not my cup of tea. And that doesn't mean that the person saying that it's bad is trying to bully you or attack you or send hate. It just means that they don't like it and they're allowed to not like it. And she also publicly stated that she refuses to accept criticism from somebody who isn't an artist themselves, which in my opinion, if that's your case, why the hell are you creating published work to begin with? Do you think that every single person buying your book is going to be some sort of elite or artist in a way that they go up to the Barnes & Noble employee and say, ah yes, Chadwick, please give me the finest poetry in your establishment? Like, no, absolutely not. Not everybody is going to be some sort of spectacular creator or artist themselves. They just want to appreciate what you made, and if they don't, that doesn't mean their opinion is invalid. I want to give you an example of a way that criticism has helped something. Let's talk about Game of Thrones for a second. I love Game of Thrones. Millions and millions and millions of people all around the world love Game of Thrones. It's an amazing show. Did you know that Game of Thrones wouldn't exist if it weren't for the creator's ability to take criticism very, very harshly? You see, the first episode of Game of Thrones, the pilot, if you will, was created and was ripped to shreds by the people greenlighting the show, and they went over every little tiny thing they could imagine, saying, this is terrible, your setup is awful, costumes atrocious, it's way too close, it looks like it's filmed on a little backyard plot, you know, they put their heart and soul into this, thought it was amazing, showed it to the people that were going to greenlight it, and they said, hell no. And the creators had one of two options. They could have turned around and said, well, your opinions are invalid because you're just being hateful and mean to me, and you're bullying me, and I don't appreciate the fact that you've criticized this work that I put so much hard effort into. Game of Thrones wouldn't have existed if they reacted that way. Game of Thrones would be just a book. Option 2, and what they chose to do was take all the criticisms they had to heart. They decided to fix everything that was brought to their attention. You know, this was wrong and this was wrong, so let's repair it, let's redo it, and try again. And when they tried it again, it was adored. The people loved it. They decided, let's make this into a show. And now it's one of the most successful shows on television. Criticism can be important. When you're creating art, especially if you are trying to have somebody overlook your work, if you are giving it to people to review, criticism can be very important to improve what you're creating. It's not always meant to be hateful. A lot of times criticism is given with the intention of the other person bettering themselves. And Gabbie Hanna simply cannot understand that. She's also an extremely big hypocrite, and this is one of the most frustrating things when it comes to talking about her, because you see, anytime somebody tries to criticize her, she says that they're being manipulative and narcissistic, which sometimes sounds like she's projecting. And also, the biggest thing is people are gaslighting her. Now, I'm so tired of hearing the word gaslighting because half the time it's not even used in the correct form. But if we want to talk about gaslighting, well, I've never spoken to her in my life. I remember last year, a lot of YouTubers were coming forward sharing how anytime they've mentioned Gabbie publicly, she would very quickly be in their DMs sending paragraph after paragraph, creating a short novella. And I remember covering in my previous video that she had done this with a fan of hers as well, and the fan posted those screenshots online. If you want to talk about manipulation and gaslighting, what would you call that exactly? And she cries about being constantly bullied online, but she's bullying people too. It's not a matter of so-and-so said this about me, but I can't respond because I'm a bigger creator. No, you can absolutely defend yourself in situations even if the other person is a smaller account. When you are trying to bring information to light, you can do so in a respectful manner that isn't going to cause your fans to go and attack that person relentlessly with the language that you're using. She's called people tons of terrible names. She has said very, very aggressive things to people, and it all seems to be retaliation for them criticizing something she's done. More than half the time, she is the one being verbally aggressive and abusive the way that she is claiming other people are being to her. There have been many people that discussed the Dom situation where, you know, she had this person make a smash or pass video. When Gabbie's name came up, he said, "Oh, I would pass," and she got very, very upset by that. You could see it in her face when she responded, and you could see that her ego wasn't allowing her to let it go, to the point that when she saw him in person, she approached him with a camera and just started belittling him.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it. You passed me.
I did.
So you mean to tell me that if tonight we got a little bit drunk and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in you, you think you're out of my league?
I don't say you're out of my league. No.
You would pass.
Honestly, I'll do anything when I'm drunk.
Just when you're drunk.
No.
Is it the fact that I'm 3 inches taller than you? Is that the reason you're a little intimidated?
The fact that Gabbie was able to belittle this person in front of her audience, in front of her friends, and this person was just so uncomfortable, you could see it, is just so disgusting. And all this person said was, yeah, I would pass. It wasn't like he said anything rude about her. He didn't say that, you know, she's ugly or this or that. He just said, no, I would pass. She's not my type. Meanwhile, a lot of people have pointed out that she herself has done the same type of videos in the past with other people. Gabbie, you're a hypocrite and you're a bully. Your insecurities are allowing you to do things that are worse than the things that you're calling out other people for doing to you. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope I worded that in a correct way.
I really want to reiterate this point because I haven't heard enough people say it about this situation, but I feel like a lot of people will agree when I say that you are absolutely allowed to defend yourself in a situation, no matter how big or small your channel is. If somebody is calling you out for something and you disagree or it's just untrue, you are allowed to have moments where you address things that you don't agree with or what have you. The way that Gabbie Hanna is addressing these things, the way that Gabbie Hanna is responding is what the issue is here. She's not just addressing them by dismissing them or saying, you know, this isn't true or I disagree. She is being very, very aggressive and retaliating in ways that are just completely unnecessary, and that's what a lot of people don't respect. That's what a lot of people don't like. You can't claim that you're being bullied and attacked by somebody and then call somebody a bitch and have your entire audience go attack that person on your behalf saying just as nasty things. That's not how that works. I also think it's extremely up and disgusting to be constantly posting things on your TikTok and Instagram and Twitter that are making people worry about you and worry about your mental health and well-being. Meanwhile, you're posting on Patreon that you're just trolling and trying to get a rise out of people. I think that's a little up. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you have, I really appreciate it, and thank you so very, very much to all of my supporters over on Patreon, especially Lewis, Miss Tanisha, Anthony, Tressel, and Michelle. You guys are fantastic and amazing, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. With that being said, Gabbie Hanna, not everybody who criticizes you is somebody who hates you. A lot of people just want to see you do better, and right now the way you're responding to people is very unnecessary and uncalled for. I'll see you in the next one.